Welcome to SoulMuse, a podcast where creativity and contemplative spirituality meet. Here we have conversations exploring art, imagination, healing, and what it means to be human. Join us as we discover how creative spirituality nurtures the soul and encourages us to take a deeper look at life.
Welcome to SoulMuse, a podcast where creativity and contemplative spirituality meet. I'm Haleigh and today I'm here with Reverend Kristina LaGuardia, Minister of Children, Youth, and Families at First Baptist Church of Vero Beach, and my mom.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah.
So this is going to be pretty normal. We talked before, but I'm going to pretend I don't know anything about you. So you have any kids?
Oh yeah, I have two.
Oh yeah.
My daughter's married. She's amazing. And a son who's 18.
He's okay.
He's okay.
He's whatever. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Onto the podcast.
Thank you.
You're our second guest, so still kind of guinea pig-ish. But let's start with ministry. So you're a minister.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been a minister for?
So I've been ministering for almost 2 decades, like just shy of 2 decades, but I started out in part-time ministry and not really seeing myself as a minister. But here at First Baptist, I've been here for 10 years. So been ministering for a long time. And even before that, even actually like right out of high school, I was doing volunteer ministry and youth ministry. So really ministry has been a part of my life for most of my life. But in terms of actually paid positions, it's been close to a couple of decades.
Mm-hmm. That's still a good chunk of change compared to a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
How did you begin that journey? Like, what was that calling for you? What did that look like?
It was a very slow process. I was teaching in Atlanta for 15 years. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education, and my church at the time in Atlanta needed a children's minister. And so I got a call from one of the personnel committee members and said, hey, would you want to work like 20 hours a week teaching the kids and we'll pay you? And I was like, well, you don't need to pay me, but I'll do it. And so I just saw it as like an extension of my calling as a teacher. And so I really just saw myself as a teacher of children at the church. Mm-hmm. Ministry was never something that I really wanted to do. And so I did that for many years. And then we moved here to Vero Beach. And my plan was to not work, homeschool you guys, and just focus on that with the new area. And in a similar way, the opportunity presented itself. I tried to run from it, and God had other plans. And so I eventually started working very part-time, and then now I'm full-time. So it's definitely been a very slow process getting to this point in ministry.
Yeah, but worth it and hard-earned.
Very worth it and very hard-earned. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
It also sounds like it was more of, sometimes people are presented with things that they want to do and then the opportunities present themselves. But it sounds more like God was like, hey, you need to do this whether you want to or not.
Absolutely. I knew since I was 8 years old I wanted to be a teacher. I never wavered from that. I went to school. I couldn't wait. I loved it. Leaving it was very difficult, and even still my heart is very much with like public education and helping kids in that way. I felt like kids in the church didn't really need me. It was the kids in the school that did, because I tended to work in areas that had great needs, and I loved being able to fill those kinds of needs. Mm-hmm. And so to me, working in the church was just going to be boring and just, not being able to use like my greatest gifts and strengths. And I said many, many times, I never want to work in a private school. I never want to work in a church. And my grandmother was like, I cannot believe that. She just couldn't understand. She was so happy for what I was doing, but she couldn't believe, growing up in the church and being in a Christian school most of my life, that I didn't want to go back and do that sort of thing. But I just didn't feel like that was my heart. And I think that the public school setting in the areas that I worked kind of prepared my heart for seeing other needs. So being a person who likes to help fill needs that people have, I started realizing that, yes, I can fill a need for clothes or shoes or a safe place to be or a kind voice when kids show up.
Mm-hmm.
But that can only go so far. When you think about a person's like spirituality and their faith development, you can't really do that in the public school. Mm-hmm. And so God just called me to help in another way, because my upbringing in the church came with a lot of trauma. Mm-hmm. And some days I wonder, how did I stay in faith with all of the weird things that I was exposed to in church? And I think that God just kind of took all of those things, my passion for teaching and for children and youth and families and helping with great needs, and my background of experience, and said, hey, this is a whole new generation of people. They need somebody like you who is patient and who loves what they do and also can take past trauma and help faith development be more positive for kids and youth and families. And hopefully they can stay on a path of a lifelong journey with Christ instead of a lot of my friends who turned back because of their trauma. So I think that I really think that God was preparing me for ministry since I was a kid. And it took me like literally, I'm almost 48, literally like 45 years to get my attention.
But it happened eventually.
It did.
And like you said, it all leads up. And I think what you're doing is also important, like you're saying, especially for youth nowadays and maybe younger families, or even families with adults your age who, like you were saying, had a lot of religious trauma and are coming into it now. Because it's hard to find that sort of thing in a religious space now, that sort of acceptance and openness and love that you show, children as well, but especially right now, talking about specifically youth and families.
Yeah.
That's hard to find.
I'm realizing that, and I never really thought that what I had to offer to the church was something that was unique. And I know that there are a lot of people that are like me, and I'm finding more and more of them. And that's very encouraging because, being in Baptist life, there's a lot going on in the Baptist world that tries to push out women and voices like mine and other women that I know. So I really have to travel a little far and wide to find voices that are like mine and people like mine, and I have to do that because otherwise you get burnt out and it feels too lonely.
Yeah.
So
that's a good segue. It's not a secret that a lot of people are really against women in positions of power, or power is the wrong word, but
like leadership,
in positions of leadership in the church, and being ministers. How, as a woman who's a minister, what sort of experiences have you had kind of navigating people who are not as open-minded?
You have 10 hours? I got stories. Well, I spent a lot of years just being silent toward the people who were making comments or being oppressive or whatever, and then just coming home to my family and venting about it. So all of the insides and the outsides, but I never did a really good job of advocating for myself or using my voice. I always felt like I'm working for Christ, right? And so sometimes we're martyrs in what we do. And so I just kind of would take it as, well, this is kind of my lot in life. I'm in ministry. It's going to be difficult, and I'll take one for, the team. And then the more I got involved and met other women in ministry and saw their struggles and things that they've overcome, and even some women who never, ever had anybody ever question them in ministry, and thinking like, oh, how amazing that would be. I just learned from them how they use their voice. I've reached out to some ministries that are really good at helping women like me in ministry learn how to advocate for themselves in terms of, getting appropriate pay, or, just having some of those equal things to other people who are in ministry. And I've done a much better job of using my voice. And whereas I don't want to try to change somebody's mind about women in ministry because they believe that for whatever reasons they do. They can quote scripture, they can use the Bible, they can take the words from their pastor 75 years ago, whatever it is they have, it's real to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just try to articulate my call and my journey and just tell my story. I mean, even just a couple weeks ago, I had someone who came up to me who I love very much, who loves me very much, but still had to make sure I knew that they did not agree with my ordination and my title as minister at the church, which is fine if they want to tell me that. But at the end of the day, I am still curious why people have to be so vocal about it, you know? And so anyway, I'm just trying to do a better job of sharing my story, but that's hard to articulate because a lot of stories you can have show and tell. When you talk about a calling from God, how do you show that?
Right.
It's even hard to explain what it's like. And to feel like you have to convince somebody of your call is not something that's fun and not something that I'm willing to do. I'll share my story, but I'm not going to try to convince them of it. So just trying to be more honest and open.
Well, it's good. You know your own truth. And it's nice that you've been able to find a community of other women who are also in ministry, whatever experiences they've had. And I know that you're part of Baptist Women in Ministry. Could you tell me about that group?
Sure. So Baptist Women in Ministry is a national organization, and they seek to help women just like me. They provide resources. They provide, all sorts of things like mentorship and all kinds of programs, lunch and learns. And I sign up for every single one of them ever since I got connected with them. I'm at every lunch and learn and just try to utilize all the resources that they have. And I recently just finished their mentoring program. It's an 18-month mentorship for Baptist women in ministry who've been in their position less than 3 years. And at that time, I had just become part of youth ministry. Before that, I was just doing the children and families. And so I qualified for it. And that's where I met a lot of women who have been in the same situation as me, just finding it very difficult to forge their way in ministry. That's where I learned to use my voice. I learned how to articulate my call and those sorts of things. So Baptist Women in Ministry helps women all over the place. And then they have a few states that charter with them to bring programs to their own state. Florida's not currently chartered with Baptist Women in Ministry National, although I still communicate well with all of the staff there.
Right.
But I'm currently the coordinator of Baptist Women in Ministry of Florida. I've spent the past year traveling all around the state, trying to find other women in ministry who need support. And we've found about 40 women in the year.
That's awesome.
And it has been the most life-giving thing I've done because it's like Baptist Women in Ministry helped me get to where I am now, and I want to help other women. And so our goal is just to find women, support them in whatever they need, provide opportunities for them, and, believe their call. I remember when I went to St. Petersburg, it was our second location that we went to, and we had about 8 or 9 women at that one. And there was a woman in ministry there. She was non-paid staff. And we're going around the table introducing ourselves. Now we have reverend doctors. We're getting all kinds of women at these things, and it's amazing. And in fact, just hopping off to the side for a minute, one of our women was the first ordained woman in the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship, and she's a part of our Baptist Ministry of Florida.
That's a flex.
I know, and every time I'm with her, and she's just amazing. And every time I'm with her, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just like amazing. Like she forged the way for us so many years ago. But there was this one woman who was there, and she was like, I just work in the youth group. And then she starts telling all these different things that she was doing. And I was like, you're not just, I said, you are a minister. And like she cried, she got tears in her eyes. I said, you are a minister, whether you're paid, whether you have the education, you are a minister. I was like, I would pay for you to come work with me. Like, and it was like the first time she heard anybody say like she was a minister, even though she wasn't paid, because women feel like they have to have this certain degree or a certain number of years or be making money to be in ministry. Whereas a lot of times men can do that and nobody questions it. So it's just been really cool to go around. And so this year, 2026 to 2027, we're going to ramp up what we offer women in Florida through our Baptist Women in Ministry section, and it's exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's funny because I've gone to different things, whether it's been a Baptist Women in Ministry National Annual Gathering or Cooperative Baptist Fellowship meeting, and somebody will introduce me. This is Kristina, she's the minister of children, youth, and families at First Baptist. Like, oh, you're a pastor? Oh, no, I'm a minister. So you're a pastor, and, it's like people are still helping me identify, who I am. And I still have trouble actually fully grasping my own call. So the more I travel and the more I talk to other women, the more it helps me. And your father, Pastor Joe, and I were at the Cooperative Baptist Fellowship General Assembly, and they have these name tags that you wear, and then they have all these little ribbons you can add, like if you're an advocate, if you are a pastor, a minister, a missionary, whatever, and you add cool. these. It was so cool. That's fun. So I grabbed the minister one, and he said, "It's pastor." I said, "Oh, no. I'm putting the minister tag." He said, no. The pastor tag. I said, "You are the pastor of the church. I am the minister of church, youth, and families." He said, "You are a pastor. People at church call you Pastor Kristina. You are a pastor." And I didn't put any tags on my lanyard for the whole first day. Wow. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, people are going to look and think I pastor a church and like I'm the top. And that's not what a pastor is. A pastor is not the top person of the church. So I still have a lot of dismantling to do with myself. So eventually he was like, "Let me have your name tag." And he put the pastor on there, and I did wear it. And by the last day, I felt a little more comfortable, but I did feel self-conscious about it the whole time, even though, I know I'm a pastor, and what I do is pastoral, and my calling is pastoral. And so I shy to minister because it's safe. Right. For me. And so, yeah. And so hopefully with Baptist Women in Ministry, we can continue to help other women get to the place where they can say confidently, "I'm a pastor," when they are. Yes, I know.
Step out of your comfort zone kind of thing.
Yes. I've gotten comfortable, and that's actually part of the issue with this kind of thing. When people make comments, in this case, we're talking about women in ministry, so we'll keep it with that. When a person makes a comment to a woman in ministry, especially other women, when we're supposed to really be helping and supporting other, most of the negative feedback I get is from other women. Some people can just rise up and just push against it. I tend to flight, which is my nature. So with my words, I flight, but with my actions, I fight. And so I'm very good at putting myself in the shadows with my words, but I've tried to always let my actions speak. So I show up every Sunday, even if, the Wednesday before somebody caught me and said something. I show up with the same smile, with the same attitude I've never missed, and so I try to let my actions speak louder than my words. And now I just sprinkle my words in when I can in a nice positive way. Because I want people to think outside the box, because I don't like that my trauma came from people putting faith in a box, and it has to look like this. Like, I've preached about it, and I use the phrase like cookie cutter Christian model. And that's my upbringing. It's like, you had to look like this, sound like this, read your Bible like this, or you weren't a Christian. So every time you're in church, you're going, "Am I saved? Am I gonna, if something bad happens, it's because I didn't forgive every sin that I had done, and that kind of thing." And I want people to see, we say that God is just amazing and can do all things. But then we want to say that God can limit who can actually preach and who can actually minister. And I don't know how you have those two things in one space. So I don't want to change people's minds. I just want to open their mind to say, I wonder if God really does care that women preach. Is that really a big problem? And I would much rather go to heaven one day and God say, I really didn't want women to preach, but what can I say? All those people you touched, I'm going to let it slide.
Mhm.
I'd rather it be that than God say, you know, I was calling you. And you let human voices keep you from doing, and look at all the people that you didn't get to reach.
Mhm.
So that has made it easier to take people's words to me
Mhm.
and just tuck them away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring. I like that.
Yeah.
Good analogy, Mom.
I was thinking about that this morning, actually, because, that's just kind of like how I've been thinking. But today in my mind, that's kind of how it came to me, and to be able to articulate it a little better.
Yeah. It's a very neat and inspiring visual.
Good.
Mhm.
Hopefully it'll help somebody.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, you're helping plenty of people already.
That's my hope.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for coming on the
Thank
podcast,
you for having me. It
Mom.
was fun.
It was. Thank you for talking about all your ministry and all the stuff that you're doing and just your experience as a woman in ministry.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank
It's good
you.
to share. Thank you.
And it's good to hear.
Good.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you, bud.